you're this big
and this global,
there's always something going on.
There's no waiting around for things to happen.
If you have a good idea,
it's gonna get heard.
Step up.
And this company is going to let you keep climbing.
With bigger challenges,
more responsibility,
endless opportunity.
It's a big job.
Serving vital needs for food and energy.
Achieving the right results
the right way. If you're going to make a real difference in the world, there's no better place to start.
But you better be ready to expect more.
On March 23, 2007, Francisco Garcia was working at the Daniels Midland plant in Decatur, Illinois, and was killed on the job, dying a horrible death when the pressure seals on a mechanical recompression evaporator failed and sprayed him with scalding liquid materials. Francisco received third-degree burns over 90% of his body and died an excruciating death from his wounds later the next day. Francisco's injuries were so horribly painful that his skin was peeling off his face and body. He was unable to retain his body fluids, and so tremendous amounts of fluids had to be pumped into him. This caused a grotesque disfigurement. Surgery was performed on him, but when they opened his belly, his intestines were black and necrotic, so he was closed up, and several hours later he died. ADM readily admitted to liability, but only offered to pay his family $500,000. But that was clearly a pittance for a man like Francisco, who was in the prime of his life and the main breadwinner, supporting his parents and 5 brothers and sisters in Mexico. Since ADM had already admitted liability, the only legal issue to be decided in the courts was compensatory damage, or in other words, what was the true value of Francisco's life to his family, not as ADM lowballed it, but the real true value as seen through the eyes of a jury. ADM's lawyers tried unsuccessfully to diminish the value of Francisco's life by unsuccessfully trying to introduce the fact that Francisco was an illegal immigrant. And yet they knew that the United States Constitution's 14th Amendment provides for equal protection under the law for all people. It says people, not citizens, within the jurisdiction of the United States. The ADM lawyer even suggested that a verdict of only a few $100,000 would be plenty for this family, as he pointed to Mr. and Mrs. Garcia in the courtroom. The implication was clearly this poor Mexican family. And ADM's lawyer even tried to avoid all damages by arguing that Francisco's parents and siblings were not his next of kin. In this insider exclusive special, holding corporate America accountable, the Daniels Midland story, we bring you the inside story direct from the courtroom on how the Garcia's family lawyer, Don Shapiro, founder and partner at the law firm of Don Shapiro Limited, got justice for Francisco's family with a record-breaking verdict by successfully turning ADM's mean-spirited argument completely around and arguing that in America, every family, including Francisco Garcia's family, should be treated the same way as any other family, and the same way they would if the victim had been the son of an ADM executive. You see, in America, the 14th Amendment really provides for equal protection under the law for all people. And people means all people, not just citizens, within the jurisdiction of the United States. So yes, illegal immigrants in the United States are entitled to the same rights and protections as citizens. And they have the right to recover under the law and sue individuals in the courts of the United States, especially for injury-related claims. Don Shapiro has earned the highest respect from citizens and lawyers alike as one of the best people's trial lawyers in Illinois and in the nation. He has seen many innocent and hardworking people taken advantage of by major corporations, and because of that, he is driven to fight for people who have been harmed by the willful or negligent actions of others. He learned a long time ago that if a man hasn't discovered something he will die for, he isn't fit to live. His goals, not only to get justice for his clients, but to make sure that corporations respect and uphold our own Constitution, and especially the 14th Amendment, providing for equal protection under the law for all people within the jurisdiction of the United States. Because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and justice and power must be brought together so that whatever is just may be powerful, and whatever is powerful may be just. Hi, I'm Steve Murphy, and this is the Insider Exclusive, live from Chicago, Illinois, at the law firm of Daniels Shapiro Limited. It is my great privilege to introduce Don Shapiro to the show. Welcome to the show, Don.
Thank you.
Tell our audience a little bit about what kind of a lawyer you are.
Well, I represent injury victims, people that have been injured in industrial accidents, people who have been injured in motor vehicle collisions, victims of medical malpractice, people who have gotten terribly injured or killed, as the case may be.
Oftentimes, these people don't have much money to hire a lawyer, and they call upon you to represent them, and you have to take their case on what's called a contingency. In other words, you evaluate the case. If you take on the case, you have to invest a lot of your time and financial resources. If you win, great for your client and for you, but if you lose, that's not good, is it?
Not a good thing. That's why you have to be very careful in making sure, to the extent you can, that you have a meritorious case before proceeding.
Today we're talking about a case where you represented a worker, Francisco Garcia.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about who Francisco was.
Okay. Francisco was a young man born in Tizapan, El Alto, Mexico, who came to the United States in his late teens, worked here, eventually moved to Decatur, Illinois, which is in central Illinois, and was hired by a company called ECF that supplied contract labor to the Archer Daniels Midland company. And he was working as a pipe insulator, where he'd get up on scaffolds and he would put in insulation in the ceilings around the pipes. And he was, by all accounts, a wonderful young man, stayed very close with his family, his mom and dad, 5 brothers and sisters.
He supported them, didn't he?
And he supported them. He sent money home from the U.S. because a very poor standard of living where they came from. I think he made something like $1 a day working in the fields in Mexico when they had work. It was seasonal. Mm-hmm. And then he was able to come to the United States, earned a good living in Decatur, and was able to send money down to the family.
Mm-hmm. Well, what happened to him the day that he had the accident?
Well, Francisco was working on a scaffold. There had been a machine, an evaporator machine used in the ADM plant that had been out of service for a few days because there had been a problem with the pressure seals on the machine. They never found what was wrong with it. And for whatever reason, about a half an hour before this explosion, they decided to put the evaporator machine back into production.
Yeah. Without finding any
Without
problem.
finding what had happened a few days ago that caused a failure. Well, now it caused an even worse failure. The pressure seals failed to contain the hot molten liquid inside the evaporator. It sprayed out, and Francisco had the misfortune to be standing right there on the scaffold. He was hooked into the scaffold. He couldn't even get away from it. Took him a few minutes till he could unhook everything, made his way down. By that time, he had suffered burns, third-degree burns, over 90% of his body.
Right.
It was a horrible, horrible incident.
And his skin was basically peeling off because of this, right?
They said that when he came down, he touched his face and strips of flesh were coming off.
He was rushed to the hospital?
They put him in a safety shower. Then they got him to the hospital.
And what happened
by the time
then?
the paramedics got there. Well, they treated him locally for a while, and then they shipped him to Springfield, Illinois, a little bigger and better facility. And after about a day or so, they couldn't save him. He was so burned that they did a procedure to try to relieve the swelling. He had a lot of swelling because they had to pump fluids into his body because of the fluid loss. When they cut into his intestines, the doctor said it was necrotic. It was black.
Yeah.
There was no hope of salvage, so they sewed him back up, and a few hours later he passed away.